Tweet is up.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to episode 118 of the Salvaggio and Cratty Sports Podcast. Here for you again on another Wednesday night, 7:18 p.m., November 2nd. Typical show, besides some additional basketball stuff that we normally wouldn't talk about every week. But with the one big piece of news, we have to get to it. But before we get into that, we'll have moments of the week. And before we even do that, I will welcome in my co-host, Ryan. How are we doing?
Doing well. Yourself?
Yeah, I'm good.
Good.
Yeah.
Nothing too fancy with the intro today. I'm not going to go too much into anything crazy, but just simple. How you doing? Good. Let's get on with it.
Yeah. The formalities. Moments of the week. Mine just happened last night. Trip Tracy, for anybody who didn't see it, the
very funny
Hurricanes broadcaster was talking about Reese's peanut butter cups and had an epic Freudian slip and said Reese's penis butter cups, which is just hilarious.
Can't go wrong with them good old Reese's penis buttercups.
Yeah.
Very good. Sure.
First was razor blades, now it's penises in our kids' game.
Yeah.
Jesus.
When is it going to end?
Jeez, what's next? It's just hilarious the way his face started. He's like,
it's like, oops, my bad.
Awesome.
Bit of a slip.
Love moments like that. Hilarious. But your shifts to the football world and one of the prime Jets things we tend to see every year.
Yeah, I mean, going into the Pats game, and we talked about it. Obviously, the Jets were off to a great start. You talked about this at the start of the year when we did the previews and everything, and you were like, "Oh, it's the Jets." You know, until they prove that they're not the Jets, then you're not going to take them seriously. And we saw that on Sunday that they are still the Jets. They still have massive problems, starting with their quarterback and Zach Wilson. Of course, we'll get to him when we do the Jets recap and everything. Just how big of an idiot and how doomed that team is, as long as at least I think he's going to be the quarterback. But my thing came post game. Of course, the yesterday was the NFL trade deadline. Elijah Moore was one of the names that came up in trade discussions because he had requested a trade and the Jets denied it. He had a pretty funny post game interview. Was asked about his chemistry with Zach Wilson. Elijah Moore has not seen a lot of playing time, has not seen the ball really at all this season. So when he was asked about his chemistry, he responded with, quote, "I don't even know. I couldn't even tell you. I don't get the ball, so I don't know about my chemistry with him." And I just found that funny. Typical Jets response, typical Jets problem. Of course, the NFL trade deadline comes and goes, and Elijah Moore is still on the Jets. So like I feel like we've talked about this in the past before when, guys come out with their trade request. Are they warranted or not? Or is he just, I've seen some people say, kind of suck it up and deal with the situation. If the guy's not getting the ball and he wants a trade request, you deny it. And then now you're going to have this happen. Like I saw some people on Twitter kind of get up in arms about his comments or find his comments funny. I didn't have a problem with it. I was more on the funnier side that what did you expect was going to happen? You don't play the guy. You don't get his trade request or, grant his trade request. Of course, the Jets don't have to do that if they don't want to, but just a pretty crappy situation for Elijah Moore. And again, found it funny that he just blatantly pretty much called out Zach Wilson for being like, dude, I don't get the ball, so I'm not going to have any sort of chemistry or anything like that or any sort of success on this team. I don't know if you had any other thoughts on this, or you were on the other side of the fence of like he's kind of complaining, or are you like on a more side?
I don't know what else he's supposed to say. And like this is a team that's had two receivers under 24 years old request trades in the last 3 months.
Mims was the other one, yeah.
And now it's Elijah Moore. Like, he doesn't really have anything to go off of, so I don't see why people are like, if there are people out there that are mad at him about this.
It's a weird question too. Like, I don't know why you'd even ask that. Like, the guy has had a rough season when it comes to playing time and everything, and this obviously trade request is out there. So why ask about his chemistry when he was? I can't even remember if he was inactive for this game. I know one of the games.
No, he was
post his trade request. Was he? Okay, I could have sworn one of his games post request he was a healthy scratch. I might be mistaken. Well, I mean, he doesn't get the ball, so who the hell knows if he was even out there? Like, that's kind of the whole point of the conversation was. Like, I just, again, feel like I don't get what the Jets expect here. Like, you have this kid that clearly wants out. If he's not going to have any attention paid to him in the offense, like, this is something that's going to linger. You have to imagine that maybe when the offseason comes, they they try to move him, but it's a situation I can't imagine is going to get better. It's probably going to get worse as the season goes on. Like I said, now the trade deadline has come and gone.
Yeah, I mean, why play receivers you draft in the second round? You know,
beats me. I mean, he's had some solid moments for that team since being drafted. So I don't know why you wouldn't want to use a guy like that. Like pair him and Garrett Mitchell together, and you got a Garrett Wilson rather. You got a pretty good 1-2 punch, I would have to assume, but they don't want to do that apparently, and help out your quarterback that is borderline brain dead when it comes to his decision making.
Yeah, right. Do we want to get into that quarterback and Patriots and Jets game now?
I wanted to, because this shouldn't take too long. It was kind of just the big breaking story.
Celtics out of the way.
Yeah, I'll get the Celtics out of the way really quick because it's mainly just I wanted to get your whole thoughts on the situation. Because obviously, like we kind of predicted during the NBA prediction show, Steve Nash, I thought he would get fired around Christmas time. Didn't even make it to Thanksgiving. Barely made it to Halloween. The Nets fired him the other day, Tuesday morning. And apparently are going to hire or in the process of hiring Celtics head coach or now former head coach, soon to be Ime Udoka. So some Adrian Wojnarowski on Tuesday said suspended Celtics coach Ime Udoka has emerged as the likely next Brooklyn Nets head coach, and his hiring could be finalized as soon as the next 24 to 48 hours. I think we're now on the closer to the 48-hour side of that. Sources tell ESPN Celtics will let him leave for another job. Adam Himmelsbach also followed that up saying, according to league source, the Celtics are unlikely to seek compensation if Ime Udoka finalizes a deal with the Nets. And then this was from Chris Haynes. He said the Boston Celtics will not seek compensation from the Brooklyn Nets and will allow Ime Udoka to move on. League sources tell NBA on TNT. I'll defer to you to start. I've seen some people kind of, again, both on sides of the fence here that the Celtics should have gotten something or should get something when this is ever finalized. Some people just kind of want to be done with Ime Udoka. What if you were the Celtics? What stance would you take on this? Would you want something back for him, or you just basically we need to get this guy out of here, so we'll just kind of let him ride off?
Yeah, I'm in the latter in this one. Like I think they're just trying to, get him out of the system. Like they might think of it as a bad look if they're like badgering the Nets for some sort of compensation when not that Udoka is a bad coach, but he is damaged goods right now. So like for conversation about him isn't like the best look.
Any thoughts on the Nets? I've seen some people kind of, and rightfully so, start to bash Brooklyn. I mean, obviously there's the stuff with Kyrie about him. I don't know if you saw the support in the I can never say the word, anti-Semitic film or whatever back in, what the hell is not Aaron Jones. What the hell is the nutcase's name? Alex Jones. Thank you. So there's obviously already problems there. Now you bring Udoka, who, like you just said, is damaged goods. Any thoughts on the Brooklyn Nets and their organization? Because I've, like I said, seen a lot of people start to come after them on Twitter, and rightfully so, because it's just another bad move. Obviously, Charles Barkley and Shaq last night on their obviously the TNT show said that Kyrie Irving should have been suspended and obviously wasn't reprimanded or anything for his comments. Now you have this potentially piled on top where you're bringing a guy that was suspended for some misconduct within the workplace. Just a pretty bad look for the Brooklyn Nets, but they don't really seem to care, it would appear.
Yeah, I mean, it just proves that teams will do anything to win. That's really all I have to say. Like, it doesn't matter. The moral standpoint just gets thrown out the window at certain points. And yeah, that's what's happening here. If they really cared about the issue, they wouldn't hire the guy, but it looks like they're going to. So, it's pretty open and shut in that regard to me.
I did see a pretty good tweet that was like the Brooklyn Nets are going to do an extensive background check for all of 5 minutes on Ime Udoka's situation and then hire him as the next head coach. Yeah, I'm with you. Really bad look for the Brooklyn Nets. I saw a good tweet. I can't remember who it was that said it too earlier today. That was like, you obviously have, thinking of the women in the Celtics organization for what happened. Like, I guess the Nets just don't really care about any other women that they have had to have in their organization working. Like, that's a bad look on Brooklyn. How do you think he fits in there? Because if and when he is hired, because obviously you had all the talk of the egos with the Celtics last year and Smart and Tatum and Brown, and he was a good job doing that and getting those guys to come together. I don't know if I'd say similar situation in Brooklyn because of Kyrie being as much of a head case as he is. You never really know what Ben Simmons is going to do, and same thing really with Kevin Durant. So it's kind of a similar situation he's going to, but just on a more extreme. Again, just from a coaching standpoint, good head coach, but I don't know if it's going to work in Brooklyn because that team is just so far gone when it comes to the personalities. So any other thoughts on, if and when he does sign there, how he's going to work out there, or is this just hell bent for a disaster situation?
Yeah, I don't think anybody's fixing the Nets,
Okay,
honestly.
fair enough. I'm right there with you. Well, that's
Maybe
all
not.
I wanted to get out of that. I'm on the same boat you are. Like, maybe you could ask for something. I heard somebody the other day say that the compensation, if you wanted the first round pick for the Nets because of all the trades and everything they've made, they don't have a first round pick until 2027. Do you really want to push that down the road? And, if you, like you said, if you're the Celtics, do you want to demand a first round pick? I'm with you. I think it's just get him out of here. We won't have to, God forbid Joe Mazzulla struggles or they underperform. You'd probably have just to, get headlines out there and stuff and get people interested. The discussions of, maybe if the Celtics struggle, do they bring Ime back next season? Try to work with them. I think obviously that nixes that right out of the gate. And then we talked about it when it happened that we didn't think they were going to bring him back anyway. I think it's a good vote of confidence for Joe Mazzulla. Again, if he struggles, he doesn't have maybe that looking over his shoulder that maybe they will go back to Ime. But again, big picture, I'm with you that I think they're just wiping their hands clean of this, get as far away as possible. And, I guess good luck to Ime Udoka in Brooklyn, if you even want to say that, because of obviously the type of person he is. It'll be funny to see how, again, he fits in with all those personalities and already pre-existing problems in Brooklyn.
I'm sure there won't be any issues.
No, that's what all the people, again, I've seen on Twitter too, that was like, Ime Udoka is going to come in and fix the Nets. It's like you said, the Nets are too far gone at this point. There's no fixing that team with those head cases.
Nope, there is not.
Nope. But yeah, that's it really for Celtics. Like I said, if it wasn't Ime Udoka going or potentially going, I wouldn't have been much to talk about other than Steve Nash got fired, to the surprise of no one. But it does directly impact the Celtics if he goes there, because obviously a guy that worked well here, will he work there? Who knows?
We shall see.
Mm-hmm.
Studs and duds, Patriots stuff.
Yeah.
They won.
They did. It was not pretty at times. Mac Jones got his first start, or not his first start, but, had the full QB1 ranking under him. Was okay. Wasn't great. At least to me, wasn't bad. I don't know if you feel differently. We'll get to that in a second. But like you said, studs and duds, per usual. There was some different, not the same studs and duds as we usually do. There was a good variety this time around. I will start with my number 3 stud. I had Jabril Peppers. Had to step into a bigger role with no Kyle Duggar. Adrian Phillips was banged up, so you see a little bit more Jabril Peppers, and he played well. 8 tackles. He had 1 tackle for a loss where he had to run stuff on Michael Carter. He absolutely pancaked a Jet on Marcus Jones' 32-yard punt return, which was good to see. And then obviously had the onside kick that he secured to help the win. It's a guy that hadn't got a ton of playing time, and when he was out there, struggled at times. Good to see him play well in a game where the Patriots needed him to.
Absolutely. I agree. Honorable mention, I had someone else in the secondary. I had Devin McCourty, 3 tackles, 3 assisted tackles, 6 combined, 2 interceptions, and 2 pass deflections. It's good to see, because we've had some qualms with Devin McCourty at times, looking a little slow, but good to see him step up here today or Sunday. Jakobi Meyers, my number 3 stud, just Mr. Reliable. 9 catches, 12 targets, 60 yards, and a touchdown.
Very solid day, as always, for Jakobi Meyers. And again, stepped up when obviously Devontae Parker went down, and now he's dealing with that knee injury. So good to see Meyers play as he usually does.
Yes, agreed.
My number 2, to the shock of no one, once again, Ramondre Stevenson makes the list. He was excellent in this game. 16 rushes, 71 yards. Of course, that 35-yard run was the longest of the day, and then was excellent in the pass game again. 7 receptions on 8 targets for 72 yards. Had that nice one-handed grab on kind of a lackluster pass from Mac Jones. Again, the snaps were close with Damian Harris, but he did outplay him. So we've been talking about it the last couple of weeks. I think Ramondre Stevenson has fully cemented himself as a number 1 running back on this Patriots team. And that's good, because he does pretty much everything well. Can run the ball incredibly well. Obviously saw it in the passing game, able to catch the ball. And then, as Bill Belichick has mentioned before, good at picking up the blocks and the blitzes. So a very versatile guy, and another standout offensive weapon for the Patriots.
Absolutely. I had him as my number 1 stud, spoiler alert, but I had your number,
my number 1 was your number 2.
Yeah.
We just flipped them.
We had them flipped, so we might as well just get into Ramondre Stevenson and Nick Folk. Yeah,
Absolutely.
Ramondre Stevenson, they're slowly progressing towards life without Damian Harris. I think more and more with the week.
Mm-hmm. That's what it seems like, yeah.
After this season. And I mean, I love Damian Harris, but Ramondre Stevenson is really, really good. And he's not even like a one-dimensional back. He's good in the passing game as well. He's just really, really, really good. So is Nick Folk. Nick Folk is just, as you have noted in the outline here, automatic.
Yep.
So AFC Special Teams Player of the Week.
I forgot to add it to the outline, but I did see that today too. I mean, 5 for 5 on field goals from 31, 42, 49, 45, and 52 was 1 for 1, of course, on the extra point. You said it, automatic. He was the offensive MVP for the day. Maybe you can make the case for Stevenson with how much he did, on both sides, running and obviously catching the ball. But without Nick Folk, it's a much closer game than it was, and you may not win it with, again, how just absolutely nails he was.
Yeah. No doubt.
It's crazy to think of. I mean, obviously we've had him for a while, but like the fact that whenever he goes out there to kick a field goal, you feel pretty confident he's going to make it. I don't know, obviously when they got him that we thought that we were like, oh, this might be a little dicey, Nick Folk, how much is he really going to, accomplish here and how well is he going to play? He's been great since day one. And again, just a huge confidence booster every time he goes out there. You're pretty confident he's going to make his kicks.
Yeah. I mean, not much else to add.
All right. On to the dud side of things, the more fun thing to talk about. My honorable mention, listening to Greg Bedard the other day of Boston Sports Journal on Felger and Maz. I was going to put him as my 3, but then, looking at the box score, there was one more standout. Marcus Cannon is my honorable mention because he allowed apparently 8 quarterback pressures, which is not great. But my number 3 dud on the day was Kendrick Bourne. Again, Devontae Parker goes down with a knee injury. You have to have some guys step up. Kendrick Bourne stepped up when it comes to the snap count. Had the 3rd most for wide receivers, only behind Jacoby Myers and Tyquan Thornton. But he did not do anything with those snaps. 0 catches on 1 target, 0 yards, and like I said, played 54 snaps. Again, the writing was kind of on the wall. We talked about it a little bit going into the game. If Aguilar was limited, now Devontae Parker goes out, Mac Jones being back as the starting quarterback. That good rapport with Kendrick Bourne, you think he's going to step up and play well. And he just, again, got an opportunity and didn't. A little surprised that he was not traded at the trade deadline. Just because, again, you talked about it, I think a couple of weeks back, that you didn't really think there was going to be a spot for Bourne, or, didn't really see how he could come back from a no-show game. He has another one, and now that confidence is probably dwindling again within the coaching staff.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know why they didn't trade him. Like
him or Aguilar, like you would have thought one of them would go. Because, I mean, right now, it's like we talked about this before. It's Myers, if Parker's healthy, and Thornton are your top 3 receivers. Like, you have to play Tyquan Thornton now that he's back healthy, and I don't have a problem with that. But
maybe they hesitated because the Parker injury. Like
maybe, yeah, that's
yep. Like, it's just really stupid. Like, I feel like you could have got something for him, and you didn't. And you're just not using him. You're just wasting the guy and having him take up space.
True.
It's just dumb. My number 3 dud is the O-line as a whole. Because I mean, without David Andrews, besides like Michael Nwenu, who was good as always, the O-line looked really bad.
Like, it was not great.
Mac Jones was getting hammered. Like, wasn't good.
Yep, 6 sacks allowed. I lost the comment I had in here that showed just how bad it was for the offensive line, and see if I can find it a little further down. Yeah, Mark Daniels had it because he always does the coverage after the games. Strange, a sack, a hit, 2 holds. James Ferentz, who of course had to step in for David Andrews, 2 sacks allowed. Marcus Cannon had a sack and a quarterback hit. Isaiah Wynn, no surprise, had a sack as well. Trent Brown allowed a QB hit. And of course the extra sack he tacked on as a team sack since Mac Jones held the ball for 3.8 seconds because of good coverage. Not great. Definitely could see your reasoning for having the entire offensive line as your number 3.
Yeah. Having that cohesive unit in the middle as your center just really, or out of the lineup rather, was just really disruptive.
Not great.
Expected. So
yep. My number 2 is a guy I, until this week, completely forgot was even on the roster, just because, was kind of buried on the depth chart at times, but it was Joshua Bledsoe. Coverage stats again from Mark Daniels. 2 for 3, 17 yards allowed, and 2 touchdowns. Both of them were to Tyler Conklin, of course, the tight end of the Jets. The second one did not stand a chance, completely lost them. First one coverage wasn't bad, but Tyler Conklin's the bigger body. Again, forgot he was on the roster. It was the first time I really saw him since he was drafted, I think last year, right? Or 2 years ago, because he was I remember whatever year he was drafted and he never played. He was kind of either on the practice squad for the most part, but got an opportunity in this game. And again, kind of like Kendrick Bourne, did not step up at all and was not great. Really play after play.
Yeah, he's kind of like, I mean, I'm not like jumping to conclusions here, so let me provide context.
Okay.
He reminds me of Miles Bryant in a sense because they were picking on him with bigger guys because he's undersized.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't good. Like, that's
It was
just
not.
really it. They took advantage, and especially with Tyler Conklin on him, and they made good on it. It was not great. Luckily,
Mm-hmm.
they didn't absolutely hammer him all game, but they hammered him for 2 touchdowns on 3 targets. So yeah,
Not great.
they made efficiency out of it, for lack of a better way to say it.
Mm-hmm.
Made it efficient, rather.
I did not realize you also had him as your 2. We also have the same number 1. So again, feel free to jump in. No surprise. Tough game for the rookie, Cole Strange. As I mentioned earlier, 1 sack allowed, 1 quarterback hit, 2 holding penalties. So he kind of took the place of Isaiah Wynn with the stupid penalties this week, 4 quarterback pressures. And again, Greg Bedard had him for 4 run stuffs, which was not great as well. You've talked about it in the past, but I think you had him on your duds either a week or 2 ago, where Strange has had a pretty good season as a rookie. This game by far his worst as a pro. You hope he bounces back, but a tough game against some pretty good, pass rushers and the Williamses that play for the Jets. Not a great showing for the rookie.
No, he in conjunction with losing Andrews, I think it screwed him up.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy that, like you said, the entire offensive line. I mean, it makes sense. The center is the backbone of the offensive line, and especially when you have as capable as one as Andrews, like the entire line breaks down, which is not great to see.
No, it is not. Yeah, it was a tough game for Cole Strange, but hopefully one he can move past, and nothing I'm really worried about long term. So,
all right, fair enough.
Blip on the radar.
Absolutely. So then on to the biggest takeaways from the game. We will start with our quarterback, Mac Jones, of course, as I mentioned. Gets the start, pretty pedestrian, 68.6 when it comes to the completion percentage, 194 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. Could have been 2, but got lucky with the roughing the passer call. 6 sacks allowed against a quarterback rating of 79.9. Got out and ran a little bit again, 7 rushes for 19 yards. I don't know how much I like Mac Jones turning into a mobile quarterback, but that was pretty much because, as you mentioned earlier, the offensive line as a whole was not great. So what did you think of Mac's day? Again, had some mistakes. The interception, the first one he threw, got hit from behind, again, from a lack of protection. So I don't know how much you want to put the blame there. As I mentioned, the second one that got called back was inexcusable. That was a horrible throw. Kind of still dealing with the happy feet, looked a little jittery in the pocket again, but the pressure was on. 6 sacks. You got to think, he's not too confident in that offensive line right now. You were not against Mac Jones playing in this game, but you and I are kind of on different trajectories when it comes to Mac Jones. What were your thoughts on his performance in this game? Was there anything that stood out to you as kind of a big problem that would want you to go back to Bailey Zappi?
There was just nothing that really reinstilled a ton of hope for me. But
okay.
I mean, it's a win type of game for me.
Mm-hmm.
The pick was tough, not like the worst I've ever seen, but not great.
Mm-hmm.
I had more of a problem with the one that didn't count to CJ Mosley because it was just one of those
horrible throw
where you just throw it right to the guy,
mm-hmm.
and it just baffles me when shit like that happens more often than not.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know, man. It's one of those sloppy kind of division games. You got to just try and grind out, and he did enough to get the dub. So I mean, it's good, but nothing to really get me back fully on the Mac train.
All right, fair enough. I'm right that again, I was on the different side of the Mac Jones fence than you were going into this game. So I'll ride or die with Mac Jones. I'm with you though. A game that was not all that impressive, but again, I put his struggles more into the fact that I can't harp on it enough that the offensive line was so bad in this game. Again, Greg Bedard had that. Mac Jones was, quote, under pressure for 49% of his plays. So almost half of his plays he was running for his life. I take a lot of stock in that. And again, that'll kind of not lead into now, but we'll get into it in a little bit. When we do the Colts preview, if you don't have David Andrews back for that game, you're probably going to see the same type of results because the Colts rush attack is probably better than the Jets. In all honesty, they got some pretty good playmakers on that defense as well. So it could be another tough game for Mac Jones. The other side of it, though, as I said, we started with our quarterback. We'll flip over to the Jets quarterback. And like you mentioned, it's the Jets. You'll never be, worried of the Jets because they like to do Jets things. And I thought that was on display, as did most people when it comes to how Zach Wilson played. 3 egregious picks. I don't don't know if you heard his or saw any of his post-game stuff after the fact, was kind of dismissive of everything. I read one of the quotes he had. I want to get your thoughts on, because it goes into how dumb that team is and how dumb of a quarterback he is. And if he continues to think like this, then the Jets, at least to me, will never be taken as a threat. He was asked about the interceptions, the couple ones that he threw, and he said, quote, "Every time I get out of the pocket, it just gets frustrating to just throw the ball away. And that's what I've done the last 4 weeks to put us in good position to not turn the ball over and for us to win. It gets old getting out and not seeing anything there. And that's really the only, it's really only the last one that I was really forcing. The one before that, I was truly trying to throw the ball away, but I should have thrown it away sooner, because before Judon got that close to me. It's plays that the Patriots didn't have any effect on. I can't do that." The last line to me, it's the plays the Patriots didn't have any effect on, is it's dumb to me, because you just in the line before that admitted Judon was in on you pressure wise. So I would have to think the Patriots had some effect on that. And then even before that, talking about the second pick that he threw right to Devin McCourty on the sideline, that he was trying to throw that ball away. Like, if you were actually trying to throw that ball away, you chuck it 10 rows out of bounds. You don't throw it in bounds right to a defender. So it, again, like, I know there's been some mixed reviews and some mixed signals on Zach Wilson, but this kind of just to me shows that he is either needs to figure something out or grow out of this or whatever it may be. Because it's just not great comments if I'm a Jets fan, seeing that, the interceptions, that he doesn't put a ton of blame on himself, it seems like, or didn't think he did anything wrong. When clearly, like, 2 out of those 3 interceptions, even 3 of them, like the floater to that Bentley picked off, was a horrible pass too. So just, I can't imagine as a Jets fan, or anybody if it's a Jets fan listening, that you have a ton of confidence in Zach Wilson, especially after hearing this, for the people that did, because it's pretty rough to hear that he didn't really think he did a whole lot wrong when it comes to those picks.
Yeah, it's just, there were 3 picks I audibly laughed really hard at.
Mm-hmm.
It's part of the reason I gave McCourty only an honorable mention, because I think a lot of what happened on these pick plays was due to Wilson, and not like these crazy plays.
Anything crazy McCourty did.
Taking anything away from McCourty, but Zach Wilson's just not good.
No,
he's truly not. The worst 300-yard performance I can think of.
Yeah, that's what
it's truly astonishing that he was more than halfway to 400 yards.
Yeah, I was gonna say, when I looked up the box score, I was shocked. I would have never guessed he had 355 yards, and of course, I think most of those probably came in garbage time with that second touchdown to Conklin. But it's just same thing for the studs and duds. I had McCourty. I went back and forth, but I kind of in the end was in the same boat you were. That, like, the only thing he really did great on those interceptions was he was able to obviously keep the feet in bounds on the first one. The second one, if I remember correctly, there may not have been a Jet anywhere near the ball he threw, the second interception he had from McCourty. If there was, he was thrown into like quadruple coverage, if I remember correctly. So just horrible, again, decision making. And that's, again, why I just don't think the Jets will ever be taken seriously, because you have a brain dead quarterback right now that, again, doesn't seem to think the comment too, and I saw people on Twitter say this, and somebody made a good joke that, to Wilson, it's frustrating to get out of the pocket and not see anything develop. Like, is it not frustrating to just throw blatantly stupid interceptions? So, like, you got to have some sort of better mindset, I guess. And, it's, if I roll out and there's nothing there, it's aggravating to see that. Like, to me, that's kind of a dig on his receivers, I feel like, too, or maybe the play calling that, like, nobody's getting open, and he has to maybe do too much. But then again, you put your team in a bad spot with horrendous interceptions like he had. So there's some clear disconnect there, at least to me. I don't know if you feel, like you said, feel the same way or not, but something's got to change either within Zach Wilson or the offense for the Jets, because it was not a great look on Sunday.
No, he's just a stupid quarterback. That's really what it is.
Fair enough. I would have to agree with you.
He tries to do too much.
Yep, and he's not good against the Patriots. Just up to 3 career games. He's got 2 touchdowns and 7 interceptions. I wonder how many of those he would put on himself instead of, the Patriots not really doing. Again, that comment stuck with me, that it wasn't, the Patriots didn't have any effect on the picks that he threw, basically. Like, maybe not, because you threw it right to him. So he's right there. They didn't make any sort of, crazy one-handed snags or, diving interceptions. You basically just underhanded 3 balls to 2 to McCourty and 1 to Bentley. So not a great showing for the Jets quarterback.
No, it certainly was not.
Mm-hmm.
Colts, though, if we want to get to the Colts.
Sure, we'll
Also
do
have
that.
an interesting QB situation.
Yeah,
right
what
now.
are your thoughts on Sam Ellinger? Didn't look terrible in that first game against the Commanders. I'm trying to find that game in the recap. Yeah, 17 for 23, 201 yards, no touchdowns, no picks, had a quarterback rating of 100.1. Not terrible game, especially from what I caught some of that game. Didn't look all that frazzled or anything, for lack of a better term. Thought he was, had some confidence going out there, but no touchdowns, no picks. Kind of a pretty average day for him. I guess they're maybe trying to just get his feet wet and ease him into things.
Yeah, I think they, set him up for a safe performance, and that's what they got. Tried to limit mistakes. He's solid though. I mean, limited
Better than Matt
size.
Ryan.
Yeah, an interesting story. 7th round pick. We'll see what he can do. But yeah, not a bad start. Can definitely go a lot worse in your NFL debut. But now they have a new OC, so who knows really what we're gonna see. Jonathan Taylor's been limited. He's had a tough season as well. Only has 1 rushing touchdown. I was dealing with an ankle injury a lot. They just traded Nyheim Hines, so the running attack is going to look a little bit, passing out of the backfield. Maybe we'll see some Phillip Lindsay, more so than usual. Michael Pittman's good. Alec Pierce seems to be getting better by the week. Paris Campbell contribute every now and again, and their tight ends are just kind of like a game-by-game offensive threat. On defense, Zaire Franklin, pretty damn good. So is Bobby Okereke. Kenny Moore, former Patriot, for a little bit there, is pretty decent. So is Stephon Gilmore, the biggest name on defense for sure. Imagine Jacoby Myers will see a lot of him this week if, Devontae Parker is not, up to speed and back in the mix. They have DeForest Buckner as well. Had some players. Kwity Paye and Yannick Ngakoue, guys that can get to the quarterback. But we've seen time and time again this season, the Colts are either mediocre or flat out dog shit. So
yeah, there really hasn't been in between. And now there's obviously more uncertainty going into this game with Ellinger at quarterback, because you don't really know what you have. Even when you talk about the weapons they have on offense, and it seemed like, obviously Michael Pittman was Matt Ryan's guy. Shit, he was targeting him, we'll say 12 to 13 times a game. Alex Pierce, as you mentioned, was up and coming. Paris Campbell's had some big games, but now with Ellinger, you really don't know who his safety blanket is. You mentioned it too. Obviously, no Nyheim Hines. I think they got Zach Moss back in that deal, right? So they have him coming in, but you don't really know how he's going to factor into the offense. So that's true. He's not very good. So maybe a guy you don't have to worry about. Mo Alley Cox, I feel like, has one phenomenal game every year and then just kind of disappears at tight end. So you said it. There's some questions on this offense. I mean, Pittman's obviously the main guy, but with Ellinger, he's the wild card, because I feel like with Matt Ryan, you kind of know what you were going to get out of him going into this game. And with Ellinger as the starting quarterback and just his second career start, maybe it makes things a little bit trickier to try to figure out. But again, it is a rookie quarterback going up against Bill Belichick, and those type of guys don't tend to have too much success unless they're, throwing up some crazy stats, which I can't imagine Ellinger is going to do in this game.
No, yeah, I don't think so either. I think this is just going to be one Belichick will be able to handle. So, yeah, I mean, Sam Ellinger is going to have a slow integration into becoming a good QB. I don't think it's going to happen.
Seems like it. Yeah, it's week by week type of thing.
But, he's a decent QB prospect from the sounds of things. So we'll see what he can do. The biggest thing for me, as you have noted in the outline, is will David Andrews be able to go? Because we saw what happened with the opposing pass rush, feasting on Mac Jones, the offensive line. If we don't have David Andrews, Yannick Ngakoue is going to have a good time in this one. So
yeah, it's kind of
Leonard.
I mean, it's
about Leonard.
Yeah, it's kind of the same thing for me as it was with the Jets game. Again, it's similar teams in the fact the Colts, I feel like a lot of their wins have come on their defense this year. Obviously the Jets didn't have their star running back last week, but I mean, the Colts, Jonathan Taylor has not been anywhere near he was as dominant as he was last year compared to this year. So it comes down to the defensive side of the ball. And like you mentioned, the Colts have plenty of badass, defensive linemen, defensive ends, linebackers. So I'm with you. David Andrews has to play in this game for the Patriots to be at their most successful. I think that kind of goes without saying, but if he doesn't, if you have to have James Ferentz trot out there again, it might be tough. Mac might be running for his life again, which is never good. My big thing is, I kind of alluded to it, the effectiveness of Jonathan Taylor. We saw him in that matchup last year. It was week 15. Yeah, the win the Colts had over the Patriots. He was the Patriots held him in check for the first half and then kind of dominated the second half. Of course, had that big 67-yard rushing touchdown and then, the final 2 minutes to seal the deal. He's not been great this year, though. He's only had one game over 100 yards rushing. That came back in week 1 against Houston. Numbers have been on the rise since coming back from his ankle injury. Week 7 against Tennessee had 10 rushes for 58 yards. And then last week against Washington had 16 attempts for 76 yards. So he's getting back up there. I feel like they're kind of easing him back into things as well. But how do you think Jonathan Taylor is going to fare in this game? Do you think that injury is going to linger, or does he have another type of performance like he had last season against the Patriots in a winning effort?
Yeah, I'm expecting it to be a pretty meh performance for him. It's just a year of uncertainty for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I don't really see a scenario where he pops off,
goes off
healthier, but it's a lame duck answer, but that's just really
no. I see what it's kind of a question mark with him because you obviously know what he's capable of. You saw it last year against the Patriots, but this year you haven't really seen anything close to that again, like I said, since week 1 when he had 161 rushing yards. So
yeah,
he's a question.
This is
Go
one
ahead.
game, but they limited Nick Chubb pretty well.
That's true. Yeah, I completely forgot about the Browns game. That's true. Good point.
If they can do that to a fully healthy Nick Chubb, I like their odds against hampered Jonathan Taylor's.
All right, that's fair. So then the other kind of question for this game too is, will Stephon Gilmore have any sort of revenge game? Of course, they go up against the Patriots last year in his game when he was with the Carolina Panthers. Didn't play a ton in that game, just 16 snaps. Did have 1 interception. I had 2 tackles as well. It's been a weird season for Gilmore. He got off to a pretty hot start. Of course, he had 2 big plays. The first one was the win over Kansas City, where he deflected, Mahomes' final pass of the game that ended up being a pick. And then he sealed the deal with an interception in the Denver win. Well, last week got mossed by Terry McLaurin in the Commanders, last second win. So do you expect anything big out of Stephon Gilmore, or kind of a similar game? And he's going to play more snaps in 16, but a similar performance he had against Carolina. Is he kind of in the same boat that Jonathan Taylor's in with you, where it's you don't see him being a huge factor in this game?
I think he is going to be a pretty big factor.
Okay.
You
kind of alluded to who you think he's going to be on to. That was going to be my follow-up question, but I agree with you. If Parker can't go, Myers might have a tough matchup here coming up.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the case. I think it's going to be tough sledding for Myers. Yeah, this is going to be a little bit of fuel to the fire still for Gilmore with how things ended here. So I think he's going to be a big-time contributor. Would
you go at him, or would you, if you're Mac Jones? Obviously, the Patriots' offense, it seems hinges on Jacoby Myers if he has a good game or not. So if Gilmore is on Myers, you try to maybe pick on that matchup a little bit, or do you hope or try to think that maybe a guy like Tyquan Thornton or maybe even Kendrick Bourne gets involved in this game? Because I feel like you're going to have to involve them more than you have the last couple of weeks. But, Myers has been so consistent this year, he might be able to figure some things out against Gilmore.
Yeah, I think you're going to spread the ball around.
Okay.
I think it's going to be a tough game for Myers, and maybe we'll see finally a breakout game from Kendrick Bourne. I'd really like to see that.
That would be nice. You didn't trade him or Nelson Agholor. You'd like one or two, if not both of them, to show up to some degree in this game. Or again, we've been saying it for the last couple of weeks. We thought it was going to happen in the Browns game or after the Browns game, but get one of Jonnu Smith, Hunter Henry, maybe both of them involved. I still can't believe that this team that has been so good over the years and the 2 tight ends just continue to not use both of them, and mainly, never use any of them, it seems like. So maybe one of those 2 guys can get going in this game as well too. I'm with you. You're going to have all hands on deck because Myers might get shut down in this game. Again, how much is Stephon Gilmore going to be a factor is a big question.
Yeah, certainly is.
All right. So with all that, what do you think the outcome of this game will be? Are you high on the Patriots this week or not?
I'm going 24-10 Patriots. I don't think it's going to be one they just absolutely hammer Ellinger all game, but I think the Colts are going to be pretty limited. Like I said earlier, they're either mediocre or they completely suck.
Mm-hmm.
I have it kind of, teetering on the suck category, but more so mediocre here. Just not going to be able to do a whole lot. I think the Patriots are going to rise to the occasion at home and, keep Belichick's pretty good record against rookie quarterbacks, looking really good. So I'm going 24-10 Pats.
All right. I'm right there with you, but I'll give the Colts a couple extra points. I too have the Patriots dropping 24, but the Colts 16. Same reasons. I think this will be a close game, back and forth. Probably another big game for Ramondre Stevenson. Again, Stephon Gilmore might shut down your number one guy, so you might have to turn to Stevenson a little bit more, and I think he'll be up for the challenge. So I'm with you. I think the Patriots are able to figure this one out and get another win.
Good enough.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good enough. Do we want to go to the deadline, or do we want to go to a Week 8 recap first?
We can do some quick trade deadline thoughts because, like I tweeted out the other day, my dad sitting on the couch, I think Monday night, asked me if I had any thoughts for the trade deadline coming up, and I'm like, it's usually the worst trade deadline across the sports. Like the NFL never has any big moves, or never really has any moves in general. And was I wrong about that? What was the tweet from Schefter that it was 10 trades, I think, which was a record when it comes to the NFL trade deadline. And not just scrubs either that were moved. There were a ton of big names. Some of them I have in the outline that obviously weren't made on deadline day a couple days before. Kadarius Toney to the Chiefs was an interesting one for a 2023 third round compensatory pick and a 2023 sixth round pick that happened last Thursday. Of course, after we get done with this on Wednesday. So, why would any cool news like that break when we're on? And then the big one, Roquan Smith, linebacker formerly of the Bears, was traded to the Ravens in exchange for linebacker AJ Klein, a 2023 second and a 2023 fifth round pick. That was on Monday. Any thoughts on either one of those two deals?
I mean, the rich get richer for the Chiefs. I think maybe with Rondale Moore just not being a huge part of their, or not Rondale Moore, Sky Moore not being a huge part of their offense yet. They're kind of looking for another gadget guy, or they just really wanted to pounce on a guy they really wanted in the draft. It came out again after they traded for him that they were a huge fan of Toney last year in the draft. So maybe they saw the opportunity and just struck. I like the upside of Toney much more in the Chief system than with Danny Dimes. No offense to the G-men.
Yep.
But I like the trade. I'm surprised they got 2 picks for him. It's a pretty nice haul for the Giants, but it could end up looking like a steal for the Chiefs. Roquan Smith, pretty good return for the Bears, and likewise for the Ravens. I mean, the Ravens for so long have been, a defensive identity type of team, and now they just reinforced that with one of the best pure tacklers, if not the best in the league. So gotta love that for the Ravens, and not for the Patriots seeing teams around
absolutely. Yeah.
Like
the Toney trade
gonna be battling with getting better. So
yeah, absolutely. The Toney trade was interesting to me just because you were maybe starting to see Juju Smith-Schuster and Marquez Valdes-Scantling string together some good performances, or some decent performances here and there. And now they, like you said, maybe they didn't but weren't up to speed with how, like you said, Sky Moore was progressing as a rookie. So you go out and get another guy, kind of similar skill set as you mentioned. So that's an interesting one there. And then obviously the big shooter drop was Smith. He kind of thought he was going to get moved and goes to a team, like you said, that's kind of loading up. The other moves from the day, TJ Hawkinson was an interesting one, going from the Lions to the Vikings, an interdivision trade along with a 2023 fourth and a 2024 conditional fourth round pick in exchange for a 2023 second and a 2024 third round pick. Any thoughts on that deal? Again, weird that the Lions decided to trade him within the division, but then the Vikings, of course, they put Irv Smith Jr. on IR, so he's going to miss, I think it was 8 to 10 weeks I saw. So that deal makes sense for the Vikings. But how do you think TJ Hawkinson's going to fit in there with obviously Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen already thriving pretty well in that offense?
I think it's really nice because they just haven't had a good tight end in what feels like forever.
Yeah. Yep.
So it adds a new dimension to their offense. Didn't expect to see him moved at all, but it makes sense given the underachieving Lions team. I want to sell off a little bit. This is really all they did, but they got a good return. So I mean, they took advantage, and hopefully for the Vikings' sake, it works out because it just adds another dimension to their already pretty good offense for the most part. But, like I said, I couldn't even tell you the last good Vikings tight end. I feel like I just can't think.
Well, you'd say probably Kyle Rudolph, but shit.
I forgot about Kyle
5-6 years ago.
Yeah.
Guy was definitely on the more so the decline. And obviously Irv Smith was supposed to be, a pretty solid tight end, but really hasn't found his footing yet and has dealt with injury problems. So I like the deal for the Vikings. It just, again, doesn't make sense to me. It's so typical Lions to trade a badass piece within a division. That's just maybe they couldn't have found a better offer, I guess. So the Vikings, were the only ones that came calling when it came to Hawkinson, but very strange deal there. Another one to me that was kind of strange. We just talked about the Bears getting rid of Roquan Smith. They blow up their defense, but then they add Chase Claypool from the Steelers in exchange for a 2023 second round pick that actually was from Baltimore in the Roquan Smith deal. Any thoughts on the Bears' strategy here? I saw some people joke that, Chase Claypool gets paired with N'Keal Harry, and those are your 1-2 weapons for Justin Fields. Decent piece. Claypool is not a bad receiver by any means, but just kind of a strange direction for the Bears to be going in.
Yeah, I didn't expect them to add at all. And Claypool is a guy I wouldn't have expected to fetch a second round pick. I mean, he's
absolutely
good,
not. Yeah.
I would have expected this to be like a third and like a conditional seventh or something.
Yep,
like
something. Yeah.
Like a second round pick's a pretty good asset.
Mm-hmm.
So I like this trade for the Steelers a lot more than the Bears right now because I just don't know if Claypool's like a game in, game out 1 or 2 receiver.
He's kind of a wild card. Has some really solid games, and then it's like you kind of forget he's there half the time.
Yeah, he's kind of a wild card. So it's interesting. Steelers made another trade, getting William Jackson III. I mean, just kind of like whatever. I don't really know much about William Jackson, but
all I knew is that he wanted to trade, and there was talks with the Commanders if they couldn't find anything, we're just going to outright release him or waive him or whatever it might have been. So like, good for them, I guess, finding something. They got a 2025 conditional 6th rounder. So nothing too crazy there. The big one obviously was Bradley Chubb. Look out for the Dolphins because they load up at the trade deadline. They get, of course, a badass linebacker along with a 2025 5th round pick in exchange for a 2023 1st round pick that that came from the 49ers rather. 2024 4th round pick, and then running back Chase Edmonds, who had kind of fallen out of favor there, wasn't getting used a ton when he did, was not performing all that well. Dolphins then obviously add a running back to replace Chase Edmonds in Jeff Wilson Jr., who hadn't really fallen out of favor with the 49ers, but kind of just fell out of a roster spot with McCaffrey going there, and then Elijah Mitchell due back in a couple weeks. He goes to the Dolphins for a 2023 5th round pick. I hate it because it's in the division, but the Dolphins absolutely looking like they're going to go for it, get 2 really good pieces. And, Bradley Chubb is obviously a huge game changer. And that is a scary sight for a Patriots team that already got killed by the Dolphins pass rush back in week 1. Mac Jones, as we talked about, barely survived that game. Now you add Bradley Chubb to an already pretty solid defense, and they are looking like a legitimate contender in the AFC.
Yeah, and it's good for the Broncos getting Edmonds sneakily too, because they lost Javonte Williams, so it gives them another option besides like Latavius Murray.
Yep.
Or like Mike Boone.
I say Mike Boone's hurt, I'm pretty sure too. So that replaces him, which is, like you said, sneaky good move.
Edmonds is solid. They, turn around and get Wilson too to replace him, which is, tidy business. Now they're just becoming the 49ers.
Yeah.
In the backfield with Mostert and
Yep.
Wilson. But yeah, Chubb is a major pickup. Now the Laramie Tunsil trade is, officially landed them Chubb, Hill, and eventually Jalen Waddle. They use that pick to trade up.
It's insane.
For Trey Lance, it's really savvy business by the Dolphins, which sucks. But Jeff Wilson's a nice pickup too, and they're loading up. They think they can do something this year. We'll see if it happens, but I don't know. It's kind of they're still this isn't gonna propel them into Chiefs Bills territory.
No way. But
so
I mean, Tua has played well, but there's still questions about if he could be the guy moving forward. So I mean, give credit where credit's due. The Dolphins definitely put himself in a better position to try to get up there with the Chiefs and the Bills. But I'm with you. It's still those are still the 2 top dogs in the AFC right now. Obviously, the Dolphins have to see and show people if they can continue to have the success this season. One of the weirder trades for a guy that at least I'd forgotten about, not being in the NFL this year, was Calvin Ridley. He gets traded from the Falcons, of course, serving his year-long suspension for the gambling stuff and betting on games. He goes from the Falcons to the Jaguars in exchange for a stupid, just absolutely insane conditional 2023 5th round pick and a 2024 2nd round pick. The conditions, as I sent to you the other day, again, just to show how dumb they are. This is from Ian Rappaport. He said there are conditions attached to this trade for Calvin Ridley. If he gets reinstated by a certain date, it's worth a 2023 5th. Otherwise, it's a 6th. If he makes the team in 2024, it's at least a 4th round pick. If he hits a playtime milestone, it's a 3rd. And if Jacksonville gets a long-term deal done with Ridley, it's a second-round pick. So good move by the Jaguars. They obviously get a guy who could profile as a number one for Trevor Lawrence. Having him and Christian Kirk as a 1-2 punch. And then now with Etienne playing pretty well in Jacksonville, they're starting to build a pretty solid core around Trevor Lawrence. But your thoughts on the move of Ridley?
I think it's pretty savvy of the Jaguars.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, I think it's a really nice move for next year. Still looking towards the future a little bit.
Thoughts on the crazy conditional pick that is just an absolute headache.
Get past the pick,
just
like the Charlie Kelly gif when he's in front of the board and he's like talking
about
crazy hair.
I'd like to know what goes into the discussion of that. Like, hey, we're gonna give you a pick, and now, if he does this
conditions,
exactly. Like, how do you? I'd love to know.
Choose your own adventure.
Pretty much, yeah. Fill in the blanks. Like, I'd love to be a fly on the wall for that conversation. Like, all right, we're gonna give you a pick that might change depending on these things. What are your thoughts, and how do you want them to change? Like, it's
very weird.
It's very strange. Some of the other minor moves as the deadline came down to the end. This really wasn't a minor move because it's a solid player. Defensive end Jacob Martin gets traded from the Jets to the Broncos along with a 2024 fifth-round pick in exchange for a 2024 fourth-round pick. So the Broncos obviously lose Chubb, but they replace him with Jacob Martin. Not a bad player there. Running back Nyheim Hines, as you mentioned, was traded from the Colts to the Bills in exchange for running back Zach Moss and a 2023 conditional fifth-round pick. Cornerback Rashad Fenton. The Chiefs have some pretty good depth at corner. They move him to the Falcons in exchange for a conditional 2023 seventh-round pick. And then I think right as the clock struck 4:00, safety Dean Marlowe was traded from the Falcons to the Bills in exchange for a 2023 seventh-round pick. So the Bills helped the defense out a little bit, as do the Falcons. And the Bills obviously helping the run department as well, get a better running back in Nyheim Hines and Zach Moss. Any of those deals stand out to you? I think kind of you alluded to the biggest one out of all of them in the Nyheim Hines one.
Yeah, I like what the Bills did. They get Hines for really nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty good player, pretty good passing back. And Marlowe's a nice last-minute pickup with Jordan Poyer missing some time.
Yep.
It looks like, did I see something about Tre'Davious White as well?
Yeah, they activated him off of IR, I think. So you get him back. That's kind of as you know, we've heard to Cross Sports, the Red Sox talk about, our trade deadline additions will be the guys who get back from injuries. The Bills thinking that with Tre'Davious White, but definitely a powerhouse piece to get back.
Yeah,
and
no doubt.
Pretty good timing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just shrewd decision making.
Absolutely.
That's about it for the deadline, though, don't we think?
I think so. Like I said, just the fact that there was
nothing.
So much. It's not surprising. There were some. That was the other thing I had here really quick. There was some news or some notes about the Patriots. NFL insider Jordan Schultz. This was obviously on deadline day. Once the deadline passed, said, quote, the Patriots are not trading wide receiver Kendrick Bourne, as we now know. Sources tell the Score. Multiple teams have called about him, but I'm told New England will not make a deal for Bourne at the deadline. And then this is from ESPN's Jeremy Fowler throughout the day as well. He said the Patriots do not plan to move offensive tackle Isaiah Wynn. Seen his name out there, but I don't expect anything to happen there. And of course, nothing did. Probably a dumb question because we're used to it at this point. We were surprised that all the Patriots didn't either move one of those two guys, maybe move Nelson Aguilar, get any sort of maybe offensive line help or defensive help or anything like that. Or are you kind of in the same boat I am where it's like, I didn't expect anything to come of the Patriots doing anything at the deadline because that's what we're so used to as Patriots fans.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be Bourne and that was it, if anybody.
What would you have moved him for if you had to really just quickly spitball?
Anything. If they're not going to use him, just get anything.
All right.
I don't really know what else he can do.
If we said it, hopefully you use him at this point, but who knows if they will. So
I don't freaking know, man. It's a really weird situation that I still don't fully understand.
Any thoughts on not moving Wynn? I know he's a guy, obviously, we've talked about in the past that if you could get a deal done, we would have probably done it. But as we talked about before as well, the price tag probably a little too high for most teams. Nobody wants to get a $10 million tackle that has not played well this season and try to get him into their rotation and get him into their lineup mid-season. Maybe not the best recipe for success, again, especially a guy that has not played well to begin with. Again, I wasn't really all that surprised that he wasn't moved because of the things I just mentioned.
Yeah, me neither. It's just
a
tough contract to move him, even if he's playing good. So,
yeah. All right, fair enough.
Week 8. I mean, I hate
Kind
to
of a
be a
strange
downer, but
week.
like every week, like this season just hasn't been very fun. Like
It's trending down. Like the first couple weeks were pretty interesting, but now
tough.
it's like, all right, you're kind of getting a feel of what a lot of these teams are. Like you're starting to see that maybe the powerhouses like the Bucks and the Rams and the Packers, maybe they're going to suck this year. You still have a lot of middling teams. There's some teams that are starting to pull away. Obviously, like the Eagles, the Vikings are surprisingly 6-1. You and I know we're high on the Vikings coming into this year, but I think they maybe exceeded both of our expectations. You're starting to see again which teams are really bad. Steelers, Raiders are a complete mess. Like then you still have some of these middling teams like the Titans, the Dolphins, the Ravens. Like so, it's kind of been a weird, like you said, it's been a weird season so far, and especially the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, it's just excuse me, talking about this boring season is making me yawn. Apparently,
Yeah.
like the first 3 or 4 weeks were like goofy and like fun.
Mm-hmm.
The rest of it's just kind of been like nothing like super crazy.
No, there really hasn't been a ton of standout like performances. There's been standout player performances as we saw this week with guys like McCaffrey and stuff like that. But other than that, like you're kind of in a spot in the season right now where it's like, all right, like who's gonna have the standout performance? Who's gonna, maybe surprise you? And really, everyone's kind of falling back into the tropes that you kind of saw starting to form halfway through the season.
Yeah, I think of it like the Rams suck, the Bucks suck, the Broncos are supposed to be good, they suck. The Raiders are supposed to be good, they suck. The Chargers suck.
I was gonna say that whole division, you and I both picked, I think, to every team to make the playoffs, and now it's looking like the Chiefs are obviously a lock, and then maybe the Chargers, like if they continue to not get into their own way, like it's been very strange. Yeah,
it's been a really goofy season. This week started on Thursday as usual with the Ravens and Bucks this time around. The run game is still terrible for the Bucks. Shaq Barrett is out for the year with a torn Achilles, and this game wasn't all that exciting to me.
No, I again had to go to work, so I couldn't watch the end of it. But even watching the first half, I'm like, this is not just. It was a weird game because the run game for the Bucks, they finally used it out of the gate. Leonard Fournette goes for 17 yards on 5 rushing attempts and a touchdown on their opening drive. And then they never used him really for the rest of the game. He finishes with 9 rushes for 24 yards. Rashad White mixed in 4 for 19. Brady again, well, obviously they're down, so he's going to throw the ball a lot, but just goes to show you that the run game is non-existent, as you mentioned. He has 40 plus passing attempts in each of his last 6 games. So Brady's throwing the ball a ton. Obviously not the recipe for success. I don't know why the Buccaneers can't figure that out. But like you said, that's going to get harder now to figure out with why I just lost it. Yeah, with Shaq Barrett being done for the season, as you mentioned. So Bucks are in trouble. I know we've danced around the topic. Maybe you are more so on the side of, Brady's washed, that this team is not good. I've been trying to avoid it, but after this game and after just another game of watching Brady look just so disinterested and just not, happy with any of the results. And, why would he be when his team's 3-5? I'm starting to lean more towards your side of, he might be done, that this is not going to be a year to bet on the Buccaneers and bet against, Brady, and maybe to bet against Brady.
Oh yeah, and he's gonna play next year and he's gonna suck again. Like
I hope not. Like he can't.
He's got too much pride. He's gonna keep playing, and he's just at this point, I think it's just gonna keep getting worse.
Yep. Which I don't want to see. Like I would like him to go out on top, but that does not seem to be the case this season with the hand he has dealt himself and just the situation that the Buccaneers are in right now.
Agreed. The London game, easily the worst.
Didn't watch any of this game. Again, partly because I was at work, but didn't want to even if I wasn't working.
So bad. It's just awful. Like literally Travis Etienne was the only good thing about this game. That's all I have to say.
Yep.
God, it was a tough game to watch. But at least some of the London games were good this year, but I'm glad they're over. Morning football on a Sunday is nice, but man, this game sucked. And
we got what? A Germany game and there's still a Mexico City game this season, right? Okay, so you have those to look forward to. Hopefully those games will be half decent. I have no idea who's playing in them, but
I don't remember either.
Hopefully it's not the Broncos or the Jaguars because as you mentioned, the Jaguars aren't great to begin with, but you said it numerous times that the Broncos just continue to bring everybody down around them. Russ, I guess it was notable. He came back, he played 252 yards and a touchdown, did have an interception as well. Got to do his stupid Broncos country let's ride thing again, in the post game because he got a win and was excited. But it's tough. Probably being a fan of both of those teams, just watching those two teams because they are not, like you said, outside of ETN, there's just nothing to really root about for either one of those two squads.
Yeah, I remember Christian Kirk at the beginning of the year,
yeah, he's killing my fantasy team.
The pace was looking pretty good, and I feel like he hasn't done anything since the beginning of the season. Both of those teams are just a tragedy to watch. Yep. Vikings 34, Cardinals 26. DeAndre Hopkins is, playing pissed off. He
seems like it.
Yeah, he's playing ridiculous, but it wasn't enough. Rondo Moore had a pretty good game as well. Ground and pound for the Vikings for the most part, and as you've noted here, pretty decent day on defense as well. They got
absolutely. Yep, 3 turnovers, 2 picks, a forced fumble. Kirk, just put it this way: when you allow a 17-yard rushing touchdown to Kirk Cousins, I don't know if you saw that highlight, but it looked like he was running in quicksand. If you allow that on the defensive side of the ball for the Cardinals, you deserve to lose because that was one of the ugliest runs I have ever seen.
Yeah, I bet he went home and cooked some of those dinosaur knees that he likes to eat on the fucking grill after the game. That picture is one of the funniest things I've ever seen. Saints 24, Raiders 0. Josh McDaniels is not having a good time.
I heard he had another closed door meeting with is it Al Davis? Who the hell's I can never remember the owner's name there.
Yeah, Al Davis.
Mark
Davis.
Yeah, yep. Thank you, Mark Davis. Al Davis was his father, right?
I believe so.
Yeah. So 2 closed door meetings with that clown already. The Patriots are going to have a new offensive coordinator or an old offensive coordinator come next season because I don't think Josh McDaniels is long for this job anymore. I know I'm praying. I'm right there with you. I know we bashed McDaniels a lot last year, but they need
outside of his house with a boombox.
Yeah. Yep. Playing Peter Gabriel. then you play Shock the Monkey and not the actual song from the movie or whatever the hell the reference is. But back on the football. Gosh, I just don't get what's wrong with the Raiders. They showed how to stop the Raiders. You limit Josh Jacobs, you limit Devontae Adams, who had probably, I didn't look it up stat wise, but probably his worst game as a professional. 1 catch for 3 yards and a negative -1 yard rush. Josh Jacobs goes for 10 and 43. They made Derek Carr try to beat him, and Derek Carr could not beat the Saints. Nothing too crazy about this game other than the Raiders are absolutely terrible, and the Saints lost Mark Ingram for 3 to 4 weeks with a grade 2 MCL sprain. So the injuries that's been my biggest takeaway from the last couple of weeks, or just the season as a whole. The massive injuries to big name players has just been, it feels like, through the roof this season.
You think so? I kind of feel like it's been less, but it's really just a gut feeling thing more than anything.
All right.
It's kind of hard to quantify,
Sure. Yeah. You'd have to go back. I feel like, and maybe look at, years past to see what type of, but I feel like you're not that Mark Ingram's a huge name compared to guys like Jamar Chase. And obviously Dak Prescott earlier in the year, but I feel like every week there's a notable name going out with some sort of injury and he's gone for, multiple weeks.
Yeah. Eagles, Steelers, predictable outcome. Eagles won by a lot. AJ Brown is just, the penalty he got for taunting sucked because it was a really funny celebration where he laughed at both of the guys covering him.
Yeah, he pointed at both of them.
But it's just the league.
Very soft.
The Eagles are nasty.
Mm-hmm.
They're still really good. Excuse me. And they beat up on a team they should have beaten up on. There's not really much else to say besides the Steelers stink. Chase Claypool's gone.
Well, that's what I mean. I was going to say the Steelers just traded their best quarterback from this game.
Yeah, that's true.
What are your thoughts on? I know you were pretty quick to, not that it obviously was the same caliber of a draft pick compared to, but you were pretty quick to pull the plug on Trevor Lawrence last year. There were some high hopes for some people for Kenny Pickett. Any thoughts on him so far in his performances? Because he has put out some pretty bad stinkers so far since being named the starting quarterback. Any thoughts on him moving forward as a Steelers QB?
I am giving Kenny the year, and then I will reevaluate. That team is just fucking terrible around him.
Fair enough. Yep.
Really bad. Falcons and Panthers. I really thought the Falcons were going to do it to themselves, but
almost did. It's the Falcons. Did. Yep.
And Eddie Pinheiro, like bad kicker doing bad kicker stuff. Deontay Foreman. I had 2 of the 3 players on my dynasty team out of I think there was like Foreman, Brown, and somebody else had 3 touchdowns. I had Foreman and Brown on my team.
Nice.
So that was pretty nuts.
I'll do you one better.
Put up like 182.5 points.
I had Foreman, Pollard, and if I started Jamal Williams, my running backs would have combined for like 289 yards rushing, 8 touchdowns, and I think I did the math, like 80 something points for fantasy football.
Yeah.
Wow. Absolute studs. And I didn't even have Austin Eckler this week. That's the crazy thing.
Goodness.
Yep.
DJ Moore, certainly looking like DJ Moore without the excuse me again. Presence of Christian McCaffrey, even though he took a big penalty at the end of the game.
Your thoughts on that penalty? Because you just said that, talking about the NFL being soft when it came to AJ Brown's taunting penalty, or on sportsmanlike conduct, however you want to look at it. Your thoughts or any thoughts on the taking off the helmet being a penalty? Because personally, I think it's dumb, especially if the guy does it out of bounds on a celebration. Like, I don't see the problem with that.
It's just one of those nitpicky things. Like, as long as you're not swinging it at people.
Exactly.
Yep. Like, what's the issue? Or like spearing anybody like Batista. Like, I just don't care. Like, it's really a nothing burger to me.
Yep, I'm right there with you.
But the Panthers blow it, even though the Falcons had the first opportunity to do so.
Yep, the Panthers out Falcon the Falcons.
Yep. Who would have thunk it could be done? But the Cowboys just smoked the Bears 49-29. And if the Bears scored a touchdown, it would have been
Scorigami. Oh, you hate to see it.
Goddamn Bears. You can never rely on them for anything besides beating the Patriots, apparently.
Yeah.
Tony Pollard is
one game.
nasty.
Yep.
But Zeke is still RB1. Their backfield looked pretty good in this game. But yeah, I mean, they just beat up on a bad team. Justin Fields, kind of a typical Justin Fields game, but like not like a disastrous one.
He's making some strides.
But yeah, he's slowly improving. So I think you got to love that if you're a Bears fan, and just kind of, that's got to be all you care about. Like,
I think so.
Chemistry with him and Claypool now and see what happens. Akil Harry had a touchdown in this game.
Wild.
I thought I'd see the day.
Yep.
But yeah, they lost. So
any thoughts on this Cowboys team? I mean, they're 6-2 right now. They've won games in multiple ways. Of course, the defense has won a lot of their games. Obviously, with Cooper Rush as their quarterback, that kind of has to be the case. For that stretch that he was. Now they come out, and yes, it's the Bears. The Bears aren't a great team, but they blow doors. They, like you said, the ground game was fantastic with Tony Pollard out there. Zeke comes back, you have a great 1-2 punch there. Dak, again, still shaking off the rust, but he was pretty good in this game, 21 for 27 with 250 yards, a touchdown, or 2 touchdowns, a rushing touchdown as well. Are the Cowboys legit, or are we still kind of I was just going to say, are we waiting on them to kind of turn back into the typical December Cowboys, where that 6-2 record might look to be, closer to 500 when we get towards the new year?
Yeah, they'll be a middling team that's done in the first 2 rounds.
Okay,
like, they won't make a run. I don't think.
All right, I'm still not holding out hope because I'm not a Cowboys fan by any means, but I don't know. I mean, their defenses look pretty legit this season. That might be able to carry them, good enough to make some noise. But they are the Cowboys, so you're kind of in wait and see mode with them.
That's the Cowboys for you.
Nope.
Dolphins and Lions. Dolphins moved to 5-3, went 31-27.
I was so wrong about the Lions.
Yeah, me too.
They suck. They're so bad.
Yeah, Tua's really good.
Mm-hmm.
Looking really good again, at least. Tyreek Hill looked like Tyreek Hill, and Jalen Waddle's really good. If they could do this every week, they'd go undefeated. Like,
yeah, I mean,
especially with Bradley Chubb now, like.
That's what I mean. It's like, I don't know how you stop either of those 2 guys. I mean, you try to limit one, and I don't know. It's the same not the same problem you have playing the Chiefs. Obviously, two totally different teams, but like you kind of similar where it's like, all right, Tyreek Hill can hurt you, Travis Kelce can hurt you. Now you have obviously Tyreek Hill can hurt you with the Dolphins, Jalen Waddle. Like it must be a nightmare to game plan for this type of offense, especially with how quickly Tua gets rid of the ball. Like those two guys are perfect for his play style and perfect for that offense because they are a lightning quick team. And like you said, they're only gonna get better with Chubb, and I think Jeff Wilson Jr. is going to play really well there too. You know, take some of the pressure off of Mostert and, you know, give them not a legit 1-2 punch, but, you know, two solid options in the backfield as well.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yep. And then, like I said, the Lions blow. Like the defense blows two separate double-digit leads, 21-7 and 27-17. Outscored 14-0 in the second half. That team just typical Lions, can't get out of their own way. You know, can't seem to do anything right. And you know, Dan Campbell probably going to lose his job at the end of the year. Like it's not inspiring a ton of confidence right now with, you know, how bad that team has looked.
Yeah, not great. Expecting a more fun Lions team this year, but it just hasn't been the case. They were putting up tons of points. And
so I mean, start of the year, it was like, they might be onto something here. Now it's
they're still finding ways to be the Lions.
They have no defense, which is a massive problem.
Yeah, not what you like. The Titans won with 67 total yards from their rookie quarterback. But, you know, that's okay when you're playing the Texans and you have a mammoth of a running back.
It's ridiculous.
Puts up 200 plus yards every single time he plays the Texans.
Something must have happened when in Houston. He hates that team, I think. Like
he kills them every single game.
Didn't see any of this game. But I had heard Derrick Henry had a really good game. I did not, when I looked this up, expect it to be, you know, 32 rushing attempts and 219 yards. Like that was, if I had to guess, probably better than half of, you know, the league this week when it comes to just overall performance, you know, for multiple running backs. Like Derrick Henry, it wouldn't surprise me if he outrushed single teams this week with how great he performed.
Yeah. I mean, just a ridiculous person.
Mm-hmm.
Commanders and Colts, 17-16 Commanders. Stinky game, but it was interesting at the end. I mean, Sam Ehlinger was okay. We talked about it like safe debut, but Terry McLaurin just snatching the ball out of Stephon Gilmore's hands was the highlight of this one.
Absolutely.
In front of his home fans, you know, being a native of Indianapolis was pretty wild.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then I said it before, I'll say it again. Taylor Heineke, you know, might not be the greatest quarterback on the planet, but he continues, at least to me, to prove that the Commanders effed up making Carson Wentz the starting quarterback and bringing Wentz in and making him the starting quarterback. Like they should just ride it out with, even when Wentz comes back, ride it out with Heineke, see if he can put something together because he's put him on a win streak so far. You know, he's won his two starts this year. He's looked pretty good in both those games. Like I'd go with Heineke from here on out and see what you got in him and just, again, make Carson Wentz the 1 year closer to being the backup that he should be because he's not a good quarterback.
I'm kind of with you, honestly. At this
Thank
rate.
you.
Carson Wentz is just volatile.
Mm-hmm.
49ers 31, Rams 14. Christian McCaffrey making history, throwing a passing touchdown, running for a touchdown, and catching a touchdown pass for the first time since LaDainian Tomlinson in 2005. Third running back ever to do it. The Rams almost managed to severely hurt Cooper Kupp towards the end when they just didn't need to, but they're lucky he's not hurt because that would just be ultimate karma for doing just something stupid.
If he got hurt in this game, missed time, I don't know how we've talked about it before and joked about it that he's their whole offense. Like if he had to miss severe time, I would not have been surprised if in the next game they got shut out. Like he is legit just the full. I know Allen Robinson's kind of come on the last couple of weeks and they're starting to use him. They finally activated Van Jefferson off of IR, so he's coming back and obviously didn't do anything in this game. I don't even know if he played. But again, I'll keep beating a dead horse. Like they have to change something up with this offense. It can't just be Cooper Kupp nonstop because teams are starting to figure it out now. And again, their defense has been suspect the last couple of weeks. Like the Rams, again, we talked about it with, you know, the Bucs, you said it, the Packers, the Rams, they all kind of suck. Like they're all kind of one-dimensional, not that hard a game plan against this year. And teams are starting to figure that out.
Yeah. It's like Shanahan was like, haha, we got McCaffrey and you didn't. Let's show you how cool he is.
It's all these things, these cool and awesome things he can do.
Yeah.
You think he's a running back? Just kidding. He's going to throw a touchdown pass. You want him to throw the ball again? Nope. We're going to throw him and have him make a phenomenal snag in the back corner of the end zone for a touchdown. Like, he does it all. He's great. You don't have him. We do.
He's a fantastic Christian McCaffrey.
And we don't even have Deebo Samuel, and we can beat you over the head with Brandon Ayuk too. Like,
yeah, they're versatile.
Mm-hmm.
They're definitely versatile. The G-men get a heat check from the Seattle Seahawks in the form of a 27-13 loss in this one.
Who would have thought the Seahawks would be leading that division and have a better record than, again, the Buccaneers, the Packers, and the Rams? Like, man, were you and I wrong about the Seahawks?
Goofy season. Goofy season. Daniel Jones didn't really do anything. Saquon was neutralized outside of the touchdown.
Yep.
The Seahawks did enough. That's really it for me.
Yep.
Bills, Packers, I was hoping it'd be a larger margin. Even
this game actually put me to sleep.
And that barely covered. But, I mean, yeah, the Packers stink. So,
yeah, that's the most interesting thing from this game happened pregame with Diggs and Alexander going at it in the tunnel. I mean, they went back and forth all game. Diggs, of course, had the big touchdown catch. But other than that,
against Rasul Douglas, it would have been interesting if it was against Alexander.
True. Yeah, it would. Yep. But yeah, I mean, other than that, like I said, this game, like late Sunday night, I was having a difficult time watching it because it was exactly what you expected it to be. Like, you expected the Bills to blow doors off the Packers in this game, but it was just such a boring game. The Packers are a boring team to watch. I'm sure Aaron Rodgers was blaming everybody else after the game too. Like, Romeo Doubs had a pretty solid performance, but other than that, like, it's kind of the same thing. Their offense is Aaron Jones. You stop him in the passing game because they don't run the ball either. You're not gonna, have a hard time beating the Packers.
Yeah, I mean, Rodgers is washed. So is Brady. So it's just been a weird season for that reason mainly. Yep. Some of our greatest QBs we've watched are not so great no more.
Yeah, it's rough to go from MVP, debates to now we're debating which one is more over the hill and looks worse this season.
Yeah. And the Packers did nothing to help Rodgers, which is funny. So
very funny. Yep.
The Browns stomped the Bengals. The Bengals just continue to really make no sense. But in this one, it made a little more sense than in the past, though, Jamar Chase. But the Browns just got it done. Nick Chubb was Nick Chubb. Amari Cooper had arguably his best game of the year. The Bengals offensive line was just getting torched, and that's not a good recipe for success.
It has not been in the past. I don't know why they can't seem to figure that out, because it's been a disastrous result for their team for the last couple of years now. But that was my big thing. Like, I know Jamar Chase is great. He stretches the field and everything, and he's a phenomenal wide receiver. But the fact that he goes out and the offense just looks so inept, especially when you have, like I had this conversation with my dad. And I was talking about, obviously Jamar Chase is the one. And when Boyd caught the touchdown pass, he's like, oh, isn't that the number one receiver? I'm like, no, he hasn't been the last couple of years, just because they have such great weapons like Chase and T. Higgins. Boyd kind of slides down to that 3 slot, but still a very capable and very talented wide receiver. Like, you have those two guys. You have Joe Mixon, who didn't do anything in this game. Like, that, it was surprising, just without Jamar Chase, how, crappy this offense looked when you have those type of weapons. So, Burrow kind of, like you said, a heat check game for the Giants. Burrow kind of had a heat check game here. Didn't play all that well until really garbage time. Like, the touchdowns late didn't really mean a whole lot in the end. And the Browns, as you mentioned, their defense just was running wild all night long.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty wild to see how much the Bengals are underachieving. But at this point for them, with Chase luckily not landing on IR, he's just out. They can get him back sooner than they might have expected. So we'll see what happens with the Bengals, but they certainly do not look like the contender of old that we saw last year.
Nope.
They certainly do not. Do we have any other football notes?
I don't think so.
Alrighty. On to hockey. The Bruins are nasty.
Are they a W, or are they are you throwing that term on them yet, or no?
What do you mean a W?
A wagon?
Oh, the W word.
The W word, yes.
Yeah, they are a wagon.
Okay.
Yeah, they are.
I won't disagree with you, because they are. I think last night, if people didn't watch that game, absolutely proved it. Like, I don't think it's too far fetched to say. I know we'll get to it. We got a couple games before that, but I don't know if that's a game they win last year.
Nope.
With the makeup of the team, how things are going this year, like, I don't think that's too far fetched to say.
Yeah, they're scoring a lot more. They're back to scoring 4 to 6 goals a game. They took a little siesta from that, but Starts with the Detroit Red Wings, 5-1 win. Swayman's in net, 28 saves and 29 shots. Do I sneeze, or is it gonna go away?
Look into the light. Bless you.
It's gone.
Yeah, it always seems to work for some reason. Say bless you before the sneeze, and it never comes.
So stupid.
Yep.
Cole had a really nice goal, started a scoring streak for himself that's still alive after last night's game. Craig Smith finally gets on the board. He did not play last night though, because I think he's just day to day with something. Brad Marchand came
or he's
back.
not good. That'd be my guess. He's not good.
That too. Brad Marchand came back and did what he does. So,
typical Marchand fashion. Yep.
Yeah, he's the quote of him like, oh yeah, they were talking about Thanksgiving recovery. He's like, nah, not for me.
Not happening.
Nope, not allowed.
No.
Guy just makes his own rules. But yeah, they swiftly take care of the Detroit Red Wings. David Krejci unfortunately got hurt in this one. Michael Rasmussen got suspended 2 games with that high stick. But hopefully Krejci will be back a couple games from now, because he's most likely not playing tomorrow, but they haven't fully rolled him out. But I'd say we're looking at Toronto potentially for him coming back, but that's no guarantee.
Gotcha.
Good dub there. First shutout of the season. Linus Ullmark, 30 saves and 30 shots against Columbus on the second half of back-to-back. Not a big deal. Casual shutout on the back-to-back. 4-0 win. Marchand gets the night off because second half of back-to-back, they want to give him a little rest. And Trader Donnie was working in this game. I did not expect to see Jackson Nika traded. He gets traded for Mikey DiPietro and Jonathan Myrenberg during the game. I'm not the biggest Tanika guy, so I'm fine with this.
Yep, same there. Kind of was not falling out of favor because I don't know if he was ever in favor, but like that was a move I think that had to be made. Like you couldn't have him just kind of filling a hole or filling a spot, rotting a hole on your bench. Like something had to be done there, and they weren't ever going to waive him. So I'm fine with them moving him on from him. Yeah,
and like some Canucks fans are convinced he can be a top 6 forward if they give him the ice time there. Like it's just not happening.
He was horrible in his debut. I saw
the Bruins didn't give him time to the top 6. That's why he wasn't good. Like no, he didn't play the top 6 because he was not good.
Never deserved it. Yeah, he was horrible.
Like, come on, people, just be less stupid.
I don't know who had the tweet I saw. I think it might have been Connor Ryan. It's Ty Anderson. Yep, thank you. You know the one I'm talking about.
I think it might have been his second game actually last night, but I'm not sure. They did wear their reverse retros last night. Now the Penguins and Sabres are wearing theirs tonight. They're pretty nice. Mikey DiPietro, one of the best goalies in his draft class a couple years ago, has kind of fallen out of favor though. They got Patriots-Demko. Who do they have backing him up now? Why am I drawing a blank on their backup? What's the Canucks backup?
I'll try to look it up for you.
They have Mikey Patriots-Demko, Archer Silovs, who's a prospect, had like leapfrogged DiPietro in the like third goalie rotation supposedly. So like I think DiPietro like requested a trade or like expressed willingness to like allow them to explore trade a few months ago. So the Bruins capitalized. They don't really need a goalie in the like a top prospect goalie, but like he's still a decent goalie prospect, just gives them depth. And now with Swayman hurt, could come in handy, but the Bruins called up Kincaid. I didn't expect them to call up DiPietro. Any luck finding it? Why am I drawing?
Yes, whoever Spencer Martin is.
Oh, Spencer Martin. Yep.
I also thought I saw they had Colin Delia too.
Yeah, they have Colin Delia. Yeah.
Merrimack connection.
Yeah, Merrimack guy. I feel like there's another guy too. I don't know if I'm just like making shit up. They used to have Yara Halak, but he's in freaking New York now. Yeah, I guess I was just like thinking Halak was still there for a sec. Even though I knew he was with the Rangers. DiPietro was a nice pickup, like not a guy you desperately need, but like getting anything for Studnicka is good because you might have eventually had to put him on waivers and lose him for nothing. And Jonathan Myrenberg is a right defense prospect that some people in the prospect circle seem to think the Bruins might have made a shrewd pickup in getting, but looks like a guy that's, a ways out if he's ever going to contribute. But I mean, to get anything for Jackson Nika is nice. So I think the Bruins will take it. I will take it. I like the trade. Did it right in the middle of the game. Charlie Coyle also scored a shorthanded goal to keep the streak going in this one and went 89% on the dot.
Very nice.
Pretty good.
To show how just up to date, I really wanted to just bring this up because I just saw it on ESPN, how, their hockey coverage is phenomenal. They have Studnicka on the roster of the Canucks, and they also have DiPietro as one of the goalies listed. So someone needs to, get up to date with what's going on in the NHL for ESPN, because that guy no longer plays for that team.
No, he most definitely does not. But yeah, I mean, good clean win for the Bruins. I feel like my boy Corrali just didn't really play much in this game, but maybe he was just kind of, had a quiet game.
He didn't want to do too much against his former team.
No. Last night's game was ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
Ullmark gets start. He lets up 5 goals and 23 shots, gets pulled. Swayman is the victim of a freak accident. Knee hyperextends in a collision with Bergeron. He's out. Ullmark comes back in, finishes with 29 saves and 34 shots. Swayman saved 4 of 4 after Ullmark was pulled. The Bruins were down 5-2, had a goal revoked, and won 6-5. They were down 5-2 with 8:25 left in the second period, and they won. Jakub Lauko scored his first goal. Is going to give the puck to the mother of one of his old teammates, who passed away from cancer 2 years ago. So that's a really cool gesture.
Cool moment, yeah.
He told his buddy that he was going to make the NHL before his early passing to cancer. So really cool story. Gets the assist from who he calls affectionately Uncle Nick. Gets a nice pass from Foligno, who continues to look really good, surprisingly, this year.
Mm-hmm.
And not only did Uncle Nick do that, Uncle Nick filled in for Jeremy Swayman on the goalie hug. So that was really funny.
That's good to see, yeah.
Such a vibes guy. He's more than a vibes guy too. So it's, we talk about him in a more positive light.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome to see Lauko get credit for that one instead of the Arizona goal that I witnessed that got revoked. So he even mentioned that in the media as well. Tristan Jarry was getting bumped into a lot, but I mean, you got to blame his defenseman there, even though Pastrnak went into him and definitely pushed a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's not a lot guys can do when they're pinned between a defenseman and the goalie. Like, contact is going to happen. And Nick Foligno made it known the guy was doing everything, that, we kind of see through the bullshit. We see what you're doing here. And Sidney Crosby tried to get to redemption by snowing Linus Ullmark, but
that sounds like Sidney Crosby.
Caused some chippiness.
Mm-hmm.
But it was a good game. I mean, it was rough at times, like losing Swayman. You lose Forbert, who they haven't announced yet, but Ivan on Twitter, or Rob, pointed this out. The Bruins on their official roster have an asterisk next to Derek Forbert's name, signifying that he's on IR.
Yep.
So we're going to be without Derek Forbert for a little bit. He got hurt last night. We won't know Swayman's status until tomorrow. Really worried it could be a bad knee injury. Hope it's not. Hope it's just something.
You said
minor.
What, ACL to me when you texted me last night, because I missed the majority of the game again because of work. I told you I was a good luck charm. I saw both the tying and game winning goals. So you're welcome, everybody. But yeah, that was obviously the stinker, because that was going to be my one of my takeaways was, obviously you have Swayman play so well in the Detroit game. We talked about it, I think last week we did the Bruins stuff, and what you asked, or, if there was anything I was looking forward to for the games coming up. And I think I told you that get Swayman, a little bit more either comfortable, or have him get a win or two under his belt, have him play well, and, right the ship a little bit. He does that against Detroit, and then came in, played pretty well in the relief effort, and then gets hurt. So like you said, freak accident, freak thing happens, and kind of a shitty situation there.
Yeah, I really hope it's on ACL, with the knee hyperextending, some decent contact with Bergeron, not being able to put weight on it. And you see the knee hyperextend like that, you have to wonder if there's ligament damage, and I hope that's not the case.
Mm-hmm.
The broadcast kept saying Montgomery said it was the worst morning skate of the season. He was worried about that, and it showed at times. Team was definitely sluggish at times, but they made it work.
Mm-hmm.
The rules analyst, this was one of the weirdest parts of the game, said Bergeron made a deliberate shove with his skate on his goal that was called off. I just don't know how you can make a deliberate shove at something that you're not looking at. So I think the wording doesn't
make a ton of sense. Yeah,
they're not, rules analyzing from the rule analyst.
Mhm.
Like, how the fuck can somebody make a deliberate shove when they're not looking at what they're deliberately
Get
shoving?
eyes in the back of his head.
Yep. I mean, that would make sense.
That's how he wins all those Selkies too.
Yeah, exactly.
He's just a super freak.
Yeah, the most wild thing from this game though was Hampus Lindholm. I mean,
He was
this guy
excellent.
is ridiculous.
Yeah, I texted you worth everything they gave. I can't remember what they gave up for him, but whatever it was, worth it, and worth every penny that they signed him extension wise. He's phenomenal.
He's a monster. It's funny. All the top scorers, defensive scorers in the league are all Swedes in the top three. Erik Karlsson had a hat trick last night. He's ridiculous. He's got like 16 points, I think. Hampus has 11, and Rasmus Dahlin is up there as well. Definitely having a breakout season in Buffalo.
Those Swedes make good defensemen.
Yeah, who would have thunk it? And, we're not even talking about Victor Hedman or I was about to say Miro Heiskanen, but I'm pretty sure he's Finnish. He is Finnish, so glad I didn't say that. He's looking really good though. He went Bobby Orr mode. He played just shy of 30 minutes. He had 4 points, and he literally went Bobby Orr mode with the OT winner, just taking it all himself, coast to coast, and burying it. And just actually went ballistic when he scored. He's just a monster.
I knew he was a solid offensive defenseman, but I mean, I did not know he had that good of a shot. Like,
yeah,
it was a snipe and a half.
He's a menace out there. But forward looks like he's had an IR. Keith Kincaid recalled. We'll see how long he ends up being the backup for with Swayman's status. But we also have the news in the form of the Winter Classic logos being reversed, revealed. Yeah. The Meth Bear is coming back in some fashion, which I'm excited about. We get the Meth Bear and the Pooh Bear in the same year. And the Penguins are just practically rocking the Pirates logo. If you put in like block letters, if you're in like fourth grade drawing your name in block letters.
I'll look that up because I did not see the Penguins.
Yeah, it's really just the Pirates logo.
Okay.
The full reveal of the jerseys is coming on the 25th. So a little time to wait, but excited to see the jerseys. And as you'll see shortly. That's the Pirates P. That's terrible.
Dumb looking. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty rough.
Jesus, be original.
Yeah, I don't know, but maybe they had like a third grader design.
We got this cracked out bear and just P.
We have a P
right on the thing. Yeah, go get him. Okay.
Go P.
Go P. That's dumb.
Go Pittsburgh P.
Yeah.
Go P Penguins.
Hey. Oh God. Imagine buying like a jersey or a hat or something with that on it. What's the P stand for? Pittsburgh. Yay.
And Penguins.
And Penguins. Yeah. Look at that. That's great. Oh God. That is pretty bad.
Next up for the Bruins, tomorrow they have the Rangers. Maybe we'll see David Krejci back. Artemi Panarin's leading them in scoring 16 points in 11 games. A little up and down, but like pretty good team. Shesterkin's in net. They're definitely a threat as well. John Tavares and William Nylander were tied in scoring for the Maple Leafs. So the Bruins have next on the 5th in Toronto. But Leafs have been scoring tonight, so I think one of them may have taken the scoring race for themselves. But last I checked, they're both tied at 10 points, 4 goals and 6 assists, which of course changed. Not doing so good. The Leafs are 7th in the Atlantic.
Damn, you hate to see it.
Too. Really tough.
Yeah.
Not what I love looking at when I check the standings today. And speaking of teams that you really hate to see.
Oh, you hate to, yeah, this one too. Oh, terrible.
St. Louis Blues, worse. With Justin Falk leading them in scoring from the back end. Tied with Braden Shen. They've lost 5 in a row, and they got smoked by the Kings last night.
Nice. So, I mean, no, you hate to see that. That's terrible. Yeah.
You're not going to believe this, but Jordan Bennington has a sub 900 goals against and a goals save percentage and a goals against around like 3.3. So
I really like that guy.
Yeah,
he's a really great stand-up human being, and he should do well at his profession. Yeah. I wish him nothing but the best.
You'd think.
No.
Not. Any other overarching thoughts? One thing I forgot to mention from the Penguins game is every single forward had a point besides Tomas Nosek.
Again, that's great to see.
Interesting because Tomas Nosek almost
put the game winner. That's right. Yeah.
But he hit the post. His
first goal in like 90 years, it feels like would have been a game winner. That would have been nice.
It was January 2nd last year. So now we are 10 months from his last goal. Oof. 10 months on the date. tough scene for Nosek. Maybe I wonder if they play on January 2nd. Like, it would just be classic.
Oh, that'd be
if they did,
hilarious.
He just scored on January 2nd. That's what he does. It's like,
this is my one day a
every
year.
year.
Here's your one goal. I'm gonna go back to killing penalties.
yeah, and winning face-offs. January 2nd. They play the Penguins.
Oh God.
Oh, that's a Winter Classic.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna say, wait a minute. Matthews actually scores an overtime winner in that game.
Oh my God.
It's the
Or just
post and
hit
it
the
actually
post.
goes in
Hits the
instead.
post again.
Yeah.
Poor guy.
Yep.
We'll see what happens though. The Bruins are rolling. They're 9-1. They've scored 45 goals. Linus Ullmark is undefeated at 7-0. Like, they are just ridiculous. We'll see if they continue the pace.
What's the latest with McAvoy before we get on out of here? With Forward out now, you think there's any chance he comes back sooner rather than later, or you think they still try to? Because he is practicing without the non-contact jersey, right? Using a normal one the other day, I heard.
I think he's probably a week or two out at the very least.
Okay.
It kind of seems like they're playing it much slower with him, which I'm fine with. So
more of Strawman then, most likely.
yeah, Strawman's nothing crazy.
He's a guy. He's just kind of there.
Yeah.
Like,
maybe he'll be the next Swede to
hold down hold down the fort and
book
see where
it
you go
tomorrow.
from there.
Anton Strawman, 29 minutes and 4 points.
Nice. That would be awesome.
There we go.
They can do no wrong. Yeah.
You heard it here first. Please credit Salvaggio and Cratty Sports Podcast.
Yep.
That's going to wrap it up, though. Episode 118 here for you on another Wednesday night. Thank you so much for listening. We're available wherever you get your podcasts. You can rate us on Spotify and Apple. Find us on Twitter at Mike_Cratty and at Ryan_Salvaggio, and the show at Sal and Cratty Pod. You can find the our TikTok page, throw Salvaggio and Cratty in the search bar. I lost my train of thought there. You can find us on Twitch and YouTube on the Full Press Coverage page. Thank you so much for listening and supporting us. It's been awesome lately seeing all the support in the statistics and all that stuff. The listening ship just keeps going up. It's awesome. So thank you so much for listening. Talk to you next week. Stay safe, stay healthy, be nice people, all that good stuff. And we'll talk to you next week. Peace.